Welcome to my final predictions for the 2024 presidential election. We are 30 days now from Election Day, so very soon we're going to find out who is going to be our next president of the United States. You'll remember that a couple months ago I made my final predictions for this election, but that was when Joe Biden was still the presumed Democratic nominee, so a lot has changed since then. So I obviously needed to do an updated version. I waited a little while because there was a lot of uncertainty involved in them swapping the candidate at the last minute, because that's something we never really seen before. So I needed to see a little bit more and get a better idea of where this race was before I felt confident about actually providing predictions. Spoiler alert, if you watched my last prediction video, this is going to be a lot closer in terms of the electoral college split compared to when I had Biden on there. I think Trump easily got way over 300 electoral votes. I think it was 320 something or 330 something, something along those lines, like a complete blowout. And just, yeah, this is not this. I don't predict this for Harris. Harris is definitely a much stronger candidate, whether you like her or not. Just based on, like, policy wise, she's the exact same, and just the way she articulates herself and everything, like, she just says a lot of stuff that makes no fucking sense. But she doesn't have dementia. So that alone makes her a lot more appealing than Joe Biden. And that alone is enough to make this a much closer election. Doesn't mean she's necessarily a great quality candidate, but it is what it is. Like, the polling is pretty decisive at this point, that at the very least, it's going to be much closer, and Trump's going to have a much harder time at winning than he did if Biden stayed in and refused to drop out. So that being said, I already highlighted the states that I think have pretty much no chance of going to the other party. Like, obviously no one thinks that California can be red or New York can be red. Like, those are the obvious ones. But Minnesota is one that may be surprising for some people. And Virginia will be a lot closer. But I think ultimately Harris is going to have no problem winning those two states. There's a reason why people don't really consider Virginia a swing state or Minnesota a swing state. When people talk about the swing states, if you're watching the news or whatever, it's these 7 states. And then you also have the split districts in Nebraska and Maine. So I think it's going to be within less than 5% for Virginia and Minnesota. I think Minnesota's definitely going to be a lot more decisive for Harris than Virginia. I could see Virginia being like within less than 3%, but I think put a gun to my head and ask me and tell me, like, you have to predict who's going to win Virginia, and if you get it wrong, your life is over. I'm definitely going with Harris, like, without even hesitation. So I think she has, definitely like more of an 85% chance, somewhere in that ballpark, of winning over there, despite, Glenn Youngkin has done things with the voter roll purge and a whole bunch of different things with the election to make it better for Republicans to win. But I think ultimately it's not going to make a difference, and Harris is going to win, despite it being closer. It's going to be a lot closer for Virginia than it was in 2020, absolutely, because Biden won it by like 10. I think Hillary won it by less than 6% in 2016. It's going to be closer than that, but it's still not going to really be a state to look out for in this race. And then, Florida and Texas, conversely, for the Republicans, I don't really think there are too many Democrats that think that Florida is in play at this point. I think it's just, it's lost when we're talking about swing states. It used to be like the most important state in the election, but I think now that's going to be reserved for Pennsylvania this time around. So, yeah, Florida is going to be, it's going to be like Trump's going to win it by like 5% or something like that. And then even Texas is another state that people talk about. Oh, could it go blue? Could it flip? The RCP average has Trump up by 6% in the state of Texas. So I don't think it's really in danger of being lost. But to put it in perspective, what would happen if it ever went blue? Let's just, look at this. Harris only needs 5 more electoral votes and she wins this election. Like, it just if she had Texas, which she's not going to, but like, or just, plug in any other Democrat like 4 years from now, and the path for the Democrats is very easy. And that would be it would be kind of funny in a way, because then all of a sudden, like, because the popular vote is like going to be decided within less than 2% based off of the polls, right? And just the way that people are feeling. Like, it's going to be very close with the popular vote this time around, closer than it was in 2020. Imagine if Republicans suddenly want to get rid of the Electoral College and want to, like, make it decided by the popular vote. And then Democrats, because, you know, the Electoral College would give them such an advantage if Texas went blue, would be like, oh, we want to keep the Electoral College and get rid of the popular vote. Like, that's what would happen if, in some scenario, regardless, I mean, Texas isn't going to flip, but in any scenario, if Harris wins the Electoral College but loses the popular vote, the two parties are going to flip their positions on the Electoral College and what they want to do with it. So that would be kind of amusing to me. But, yeah, this is really the race in 2024, and these are the most crucial states. And then you also have the split districts, which I think are... I feel more confident in saying that Trump's going to win the district in Maine, and Harris is going to win the district in Nebraska. Because the way things are looking, I don't think the other party really has that strong of a chance at winning either of those, but I think ultimately it's not going to matter. They're not going to really decide the outcome. Because I know some people had 269 scenarios where a whole bunch of these states, you know, Harris wins some of these, Trump wins some of these states, but then, you know, the Nebraska district goes to Trump, and then it's an electoral tie. I don't think that's going to happen, but I think as far as these states, the true, genuine swing states are concerned, Trump has the strongest chance, and I think he will win Georgia and Arizona. I think he'll have no problem carrying those states. I mean, the fact that Quinnipiac just released a poll that had Trump up 6% in the state of Georgia, and Quinnipiac is a pollster that has a pretty strong slant towards the Democratic Party. They always underestimate the GOP vote. So I think if Trump is up 6% by Quinnipiac in Georgia, then he's going to win the state of Georgia. And he's been polling pretty good over there. He's also been polling pretty well in Arizona. A lot of polls have consistently shown him up 5% or so, give or take. So I think he's going to have no issues winning those states. And I also think that Trump is going to win in Nevada. I think for the first time since 2004, a Republican presidential candidate is going to carry that state. I still don't think it's going to make a difference. I think Trump can lose Nevada, and it's not going to change the outcome of the election. And you'll see with, you know, when I fill in the rest of these states why that is. But yeah, I think there's a lot of indicators that show that this state is trending towards the GOP, and Trump is a lot more appealing to voters over there than Harris is. And, you know, when it comes to issues, the economy and all those things, Trump is more appealing. So I think he's going to win Nevada. So now you have 226 to 252 with 60 electoral votes up for grabs. North Carolina's a state that's been very interesting polling-wise, but I think if Trump is going to win Nevada, which I think he is going to win, I can't see him losing North Carolina. It's a state that people have always talked about for the past, like Harris has always been in the, not Harris, the Democratic Party, the Democratic candidates have always been in the lead in North Carolina. Like, Biden had a pretty good lead in North Carolina in 2020 based on the polling averages, but Trump ended up winning by 2.5%, something like that. Or I think it was a little bit less than 2%, something like that. But he definitely way overestimated the polling and, you know, where they thought it was going to go in 2020. Same thing with 2016. There was a lot of polling in North Carolina that gave Hillary the lead over there, and so this is the best polling that Trump has had in the state of North Carolina in his entire political career. So while there are a lot of people that are talking about North Carolina, there's a lot of hoopla over it. I think ultimately, though, Trump is going to prevail in that state. So you see, based off of that, Trump just needs 2 more electoral votes, and he's got this election won. So that would be the 269 scenario, is if Trump was somehow able to flip that Nebraska district, which I don't think he will, honestly. But if he did, it would be 269, and then Harris can win all 3 of these states, and then it's an electoral college tie. So you'll see, like, So I'll just show you. I'm sorry, I need to make that red. I need to make the whole thing red. And then blue. And then it's 269 to 269, right? If that happened, it would go to the state legislatures. And since that is overwhelmingly Republican, Trump would win the election in this scenario. But we don't really have to worry about that. I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, there's like... of course, it's possible, but it's like one of those things. Like, I think it's just as possible as you going outside tomorrow and getting struck by lightning, you know? So I don't think I would consider that as a, like, really, like, a very realistic possibility. But, yeah, it's going to be... Okay, Minnesota's not a swing state. It's these three states that are going to determine the outcome, and it could be any one of these, right? Because Trump could win Wisconsin, right, and lose these two states, and he's got the election won. Or Harris, you know, can win Wisconsin, and then Trump can win these two states. I mean, that would be like an electoral college landslide. So, like, it's crazy. Well, not necessarily a landslide. I mean, it could be a landslide if he wins all three of these. He would get more than he did in 2016. When it's all said and done, this is how I see the final electoral vote being when election night is over, or however long it's going to take for all this stuff to be counted, right? It could be a few days. But the winner of this election is going to be Donald Trump. He's going to win the state of Wisconsin. He's going to lose Michigan and win Pennsylvania with 297 electoral votes to 241 for Kamala Harris. That's how I see things shaking out. Now, the reason why I have Michigan for Harris, despite all the problems she's been having with the Muslim voters and everything, I think it is still more strong towards the Democratic Party, historically, than these other two states are. And I just think the way, just where the electorate is right now, I could see the blue wall getting split up, these three states getting split, despite them all voting together in 2020, and all voting together in 2016. I think we might actually have a split on our hands, but it's not going to change the outcome either way, because as long as Trump wins one of these states, right, he could win Pennsylvania and lose Wisconsin, win Michigan, lose Wisconsin and Pennsylvania. It's not going to change anything, but if I had to guess specifically which states he was going to win, this is how I see it playing out. So those are my final predictions for the 2024 election. Let me know in the comment section if you thought that any of these states, if you have any of these different, like if you have Harris winning Georgia, winning Arizona, like just sweeping all the swing states and winning out in a landslide. I just don't see that happening because of just how close the popular vote is. Consistently, Harris has had like a 1 to 2% lead lately in the popular vote. So I don't see that happening in that environment for the Electoral College that is intrinsically advantageous towards the GOP for Harris to somehow blow out the Electoral College with the popular vote being so close. I just don't see it happening. But you can let me know what your predictions are in the comments down below. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you guys later.